Hey everyone, Nick from Nick's Crossing here. Welcome back to the train room for a very cool and special review. In this video, guys, I picked up one of my Holy Grail pieces, and yes, it's fully conventional. Let's talk about this beautiful Hiawatha. So here we go, all aboard. All right, guys, so this piece has been on my Holy Grail list for over 20 years or so. It was not on my immediate radar, but I always said to myself, if I ever see one for a great price, I'll definitely pick it up and add it to the collection. Now, this set has been on the list ever since I started in the hobby because I just like the design, the color schemes, the story behind them. Just thought they were so cool. And growing up, I actually had one of these like tinplate posters that are behind me. These are all recreations done by other companies that are licensed by Lionel. But I had one about the Hiawatha. It said, Lionel Trains, the first model train whistle. Had a picture of an actual Hiawatha. There's a little boy holding a Hiawatha with like an engineer. Just thought that was so cool. And these engines, to me, are just something special. I mean, I love the design, the artwork, and things like that. And honestly, I did see these in the newer catalog, but I did not feel like paying those legacy prices. And what I always tell you guys, there's so much stuff out there. If you don't see it at one train show, it might pop out at another or pop up online. You never know. So basically, I played it safe and I bought a conventional reproduction Hiawatha. This set's very iconic. It has articulating vestibules, so it's one giant long train. Also the beaver tail observation, which you guys will see in just a moment here. This engine also featured a model train whistle, and it's full scale. So it is a huge monster of a tinplate train set. Love the colors on here as well. Just a really crazy set. But the actual Hiawathas debuted in 1935 for the Milwaukee Road. They actually ran on something called the 400-minute route, which went from Chicago, St. Louis to St. Paul. And they wanted something that could go very, very fast, look brand new and interesting for the railroads to boost ridership. Because at that time, it was the Great Depression. There wasn't a lot going on with the railroads. Ridership was way down. But it's something to kind of spark ridership and enjoyment, excitement within the railroads. Now, this engine, guys, was very special to the Milwaukee Road. The original 442 Atlantics were designed strictly for speed, and they wanted an engine that could go about 100 miles per hour throughout the majority of its trip on that 400-minute route. So they reached out to Alco, and Otto Kohler was responsible for designing all of the streamlined work that you see on the cars, the beaver tail observation car, the tender, and our locomotive here. Now, Otto Kohler was very famous for designing like Alco PAs, FAs, that streamlined design of Alcos, and some other streamlines that you may see out there from Alco. He's on the same page with like a Dreyfus, or also, you also had Raymond Loewy designing the GG1s. So around the same era, they all kind of competed amongst each other. First off, it's built in 1935. Why is it an Atlantic? And that was the first question Alco asked to the Milwaukee Road. They're like, why are you building an Atlantic? Well, they said they wanted something with speed, larger drivers, of course. Larger drivers back then always meant speed. So the larger the driver, the better speed. So with 84-inch drivers, they could achieve their goal of hitting 100 miles per hour. Also, they moved the eccentric crank to the first drive wheel of the 442 wheel set. Now, on top of that, they added smaller cylinders, and to boost the pressure up to the boiler to 300 psi, this engine could hit its mark of 100 miles per hour. This engine also used oil instead of coal, so that's how they got their source of fuel, just using oil. And also, this engine did not have a whistle that was always used. It actually had an air horn. It was called a Leslie A125 horn. And that's what they used on the engine to signal for crossings and such, because they thought it was going so fast a whistle would not be loud enough to be heard, or could not be easily heard at that speed. All right, guys, so here is the reproduction 1988 Richard Kuhn era LTI, stands for Lionel Trains Incorporated, Hiawatha, number 350E. Now, why do we get 350E? That's actually back here around the cab. It's the little number plate there. We'll get into that in just a second. Everything on this engine looks fantastic. I'm glad there's not a whole lot of scraping or whatnot on the plow. It looks like maybe it ran into a car or so. There's a little bit of orange paint right up there on the plow. There we go. Yeah, it's still there. So maybe this engine hit the head car or something like that, or the beaver tail. Not exactly sure how that got there, but it's there. But usually on the The pre-war ones, you'll see all kinds of scarring. These things are just, you know, beat the heck. So this one's in great shape. There's a little bit of paint blemishing up front. Nothing really to worry about yet. You can still get these shells from MTH. MTH did a rendition of these for the Lionel Traditions. So you can still get parts for these. But they did a great job. Look at the drivers on here. That is just amazing. They're huge, huge drivers. And you can also see the eccentric crank right there on that first driver like we talked about earlier. You got a handrail that goes all the way down, just like the original. We have a 3-position E unit right here. And it's a little toggle switch up top. We do have marker lights, a headlight. No smoke unit, which is fine. I really don't want smoke fluid around this engine. I don't want any smoke fluid getting under the paint, peeling it up or whatnot, or reacting with the paint and the zinc, potentially. We have some steam blow-off valves up top here, but it's just overall a really sleek engine. It does run quite nice. All right, guys, so here is a 12-wheel tender that the engine comes with, and it has a really interesting tether system. So on one side, we're going to hook up to our cars. You get this, 90-degree bar here. Then on the other side, we have a flat drawbar. This goes up to the engine. There's a lot of cool detail in here. I love the journal boxes on here. Up top, we have the oil fill, water fill spaces, a little catwalk. Then on the rear of the tender, we also have a ladder and some grab irons. That needs to be fixed right there. Also, there's a stuck pickup roller on the tender I'll have to fix, but I can still find parts for these. But it's just a really classic looking piece. It says Lionel Lines. All right, guys, next we're going to get into our 800 series passenger cars. So I have this resting here. It's just a tube of grease, just the container, just so we don't scrape on our track. Now there is an articulating vestibule that connects all of our cars together, but this piece here, I don't want it, grinding on our track there. It's going to do that. But these are all streamlined cars. The rear of this car is just the butt end. That actually goes up to the locomotive or the tender. And then there's this articulating vestibule, which is right here. I'll show you guys. So this piece here connects all of our cars together. It's the magic piece. And that is this right here. Now how this works is that you run this on the track. That you push this button on top, and these sort of just slide in when they want to. And the button should pop up when it's seated. But they're a little tricky, but it is a really cool design. There it is. And that's all, folks. And there we go. Our car is connected and ready to be hooked up to our other 2 cars. Now, guys, the center car of our set is just a passenger car. Very similar to these, just cut the end off there. And that's pretty much what you get. But this is the most famous car of the Milwaukee Road Hiawatha. This is called the Beaver Tail Observation. Now, our car is the Observation, but does not have the observatory glass in there. But here's a picture of that, so you can enjoy that. But these cars are just really basic, but they are beautiful pieces of art. Now, one really cool thing, too. The way these pick up electricity are these, like, bands of metal. That's it. That's your pickup slider or whatnot, pickup plate. It's really just basic, but it's ingenious. And it also looks really cool. You can see it looks like a leaf spring effect in there as well. So let's get these cars all hooked up. Let's run this beautiful locomotive. everyone, that's going to do it for this run session and review of my newly acquired Hiawatha set from the Allentown show. And man, guys, seeing this set run for the first time was just amazing. So you guys witnessed that with me. It made Nick's Crossing history up here in the train room, seeing this whole set run for the first time. On my MTH remote, we were cranking, 14.5 volts. So that's why this engine was going so fast. But as soon as I slowed it down to like 14, 13, the engine would just stop. So this engine definitely needs to be serviced. The cars need to be lubricated, but that's all in the plans. But the other thing too, I noticed that the lights weren't all on, so there's probably burnt bulbs or whatnot. But what I would also like to do is link all of those pickup pads underneath, like those contact shoes, link them all together so we don't lose lights in the cars. And I'd also like to add LED lights to this car set so each car is fully lit. So you can see like there is a lot of blank spots in the cars. I'm not sure if that, we call it the vestibule, has something to do with the contacts being distributed throughout the cars. I'll have to look into that. But I'd like to connect all those pads together, make like a little Neutrix, or not Neutrix cable, but some type of cable that could connect all those cars together so we do not lose lights. The other thing too, I've recently picked up an ERR AC commander for this locomotive so I can run it with my TMCC remote and also take it up to the train club because it is such a beautiful set. I do not want this set sitting on a shelf. It needs to be ran, needs to be seen. So those are my upgrade ideas. I love conventional trains, guys, but this is one piece that I'd love to just run everywhere. So we can run conventional at the club, but it's not preferred, especially on busier days. And it's very hard to, like film and babysit your trains while, the transformer's in one corner and you get pulled away to do something and your train just goes crazy. You have to run over and turn off the handles and everything. So that's future plans for this locomotive. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And if you're new to the channel, always consider subscribing. Love to hear your comments. Give a video one of these if you enjoyed. And until next time, everyone, happy railroading. We'll see you next time. See you guys.